What up, what up, what up? What's up, everyone? This is Chris Hasbrock. I'm back once again from the Chris Hasbrock Show, fieldtheimpactsports.com, Impact Sports Cincinnati. Tough one today. It was not one of the best performances from the Cincinnati Bengals. This one's a tough one to swallow. I was kind of going back and forth. If you read my preview on the website, I picked 23-17 Bengals. I fully expected a much different game from the team. That's obviously not what we received here. It was quite the interesting performance by our Cincinnati Bengals today. There was a lot. I mean, if you kind of break it down, I fully expected when I was doing my preview. Like I said, I had 23-17. That's officially what was published. Again, like I was telling Nick, I talked myself into an ass whooping is kind of what it was, because I truly thought the game was going to be closer. I figured the Bengals would come away with the victory in this one, but I originally said 23-20, maybe 23-21. The injuries to the Panthers offensive line, I thought were going to play into a much bigger role than what they did. When you kind of look at it, I figured the offensive line, missing three guys. I expected the Bengals were going to come out and really let their defensive line, led by obviously Gino and Carlos Dunlap. I thought they were going to really take control of the game. And that's not what happened. It was quite an impressive performance by the Carolina Panthers today. Cam Newton, only 150 yards passing. He was 15 of 24, 150 yards passing. He did have 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. On the flip side, Andy Dalton threw 46 times. He completed 29 of those for 352 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks. Now, 2 of those are, the first interception, it was over John Ross's head, but I'm going to. It was overthrown, so that one's on Andy. The second one was to Josh Malone. That it bounced off of me. I think he let the ball play him, and it bounced up in the air. I'm going to say not really Andy's fault. The third interception, I'm sorry, John Ross. Nick, I'm sorry to tell you, but you know what? I saw a tweet that was perfect. I really, the tweets, stated it, flat out. Starting to understand why Marvin Lewis did not put John Ross on the field a lot last year. And it's definitely coming into the picture now, clear as day, as to why he's not on the field as much as you would think. I don't know if I'm ready to completely say bust, but he's damn sure not putting himself in a position to consistently be out on the field. Even in a garbage time drive, like the last drive of the game, John Ross was not out there. And that was another tweet I saw that said it all. John Ross completely gave up on that route. He acted like he had no idea the ball was coming to him, and then turned around and it was intercepted. I'm sorry. I'm not going to put that one on Andy Dalton. And then the last interception on Hail Mary, come on now. I'm not going to, I thought Andy was under pressure a lot today. The offensive line did not have a good game. Cordy Glenn did not have a good game. Overall, this team was not very good today. Plain and simple. They were not very good. Bengals fans should look at it, and they should be pretty pissed today. You should be pissed off the performance of the offensive line, the defensive line. Granted, defensively, we knew it was going to be a little tough. Missing, obviously, Burfict still suspended. You have Michael Johnson was out, obviously the defensive rotation. Ryan Glasgow ended up getting hurt, which, that's another, hopefully things will get better for him. It didn't look very good. But, Preston Brown being out. So there was a lot of injuries on the defense. We're 2-1 now. Yeah, it's not where we really want to be, especially having to head to Atlanta next week, which, very well could be 2-2. Leaving Atlanta, have a 2-2 record in September. You know what? Honestly, I'll take it, because I think this team's a lot better than than what we've seen, especially what we saw today. I think this team, they just had a bad day today, and unfortunately they picked a bad day to have a bad day. Playing Cam Newton, who Cam Newton he's a tough one to deal with, and this offense, and I wrote it in my preview that this is a very unique offense. Christian McCaffrey is a damn good running back. He ran for 28 times today. For 184 yards. His longest was 45 yards. So in the first half, it looked like he was, almost half of his yards were just on one run that he had it early on in that first half. But Cam Newton added 36 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. Cam Newton had a part in 4 of those touchdowns, and all 4 touchdowns that Carolina scored today. It was a tough one. It's a tough pill to swallow today. Giovanni Bernard, it kind of felt like Bill Lazor kind of bailed on the rushing game early on. I mean, the running game, they only ran for 66 yards today. Gio, they just, I know they had to, NFL.com has this all messed up. I don't think that let's see here. I gotta look here. No, it's saying according to NFL.com, I think they're not counting some runs here. I'm pretty sure that they might have missed something here. Let's see. But overall, you get, to start off, the Bengals have yet to give up a touchdown on the very first drive of the game, which is an impressive stat. They forced, Carolina, into a 3 and out on the first drive. So that right there, kind of sets the tone early on. Bengals get the ball, a quick pass, up the middle to Tyler Boyd to get things rolling. Tyler Boyd had a hell of a day today. Tyler Boyd, let's see, according to the box score here, Tyler Boyd 6 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown. His longest was 49 yards. That ended up coming in the fourth quarter there. Overall, I mean, this is, the Bengals originally started off and they looked ready to establish themselves as a dominant force in this game today, based off that first drive. And I mean, they really got it rolling. It was an 11-play, 75-yard drive that took, 6 minutes and 3 seconds off the clock, capped off by Gio's 1-yard touchdown run. That is, that's a huge way to start off a game on the road, especially, like I said, on the road against a talented Carolina team that, they're talented, but honestly, they didn't have the Bengals have more offensive talent in my eyes than what Carolina does. But they've got Cam Newton, who is adds a completely different dimension to a football game than what, a pocket passer like Andy Dalton will bring. And that's what the Bengals, they just couldn't get any pressure on Newton. And when they did, you get a fumble. Carlos Dunlap, forces a fumble and Sam Hubbard falls on it, but then it pops out and it's recovered by Cam Newton again. It's things like that it just didn't seem to fall the Bengals' way today. And like I said, granted, there was a lot of things just, they just didn't go the Bengals' way. And I think defensively, the injuries really played a bigger part in the Bengals' defensive performance today. They just couldn't get anything established, especially out of the linebackers. Nick Vigil, he was in there today. I mean, you just had, Hardy Nickerson, he ended up with 3 tackles and assisted on 4. Jordan Evans. I mean, there was just a lot of turnover, I guess, in this team today, and it didn't pan out for the Bengals to get the job done, and they obviously didn't do that. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to the offensive line of Carolina, because they really did a good job of keeping the Bengals, stacked front four at bay. And, we knew it was going to be a little tough, especially missing Preston Brown and Vontaze Burfict, who he's going to be out again next week. But, it's situations like this that really keep the Bengals, it really puts them at a disadvantage because, Dre Kirkpatrick, you're forcing him to, Dre is a serviceable cornerback in this league. He's a good corner. He has weaknesses. Teams do a good job of, putting themselves in a great position to take advantage of those weaknesses and attack his weaknesses, and that's what they've done. And Dre, the one thing that really ticks me off about him is he plays so far back off the receiver at the line. If you look at both corners, William Jackson is right on the line of scrimmage, so playing almost a bump coverage there, where Dre is 10, 15 yards back. And when you're trying to cover a guy like Devin Funchess, who obviously has a size advantage of you, you got to put yourself in a position to make a play. And Devin Funchess, he only had 67 yards receiving today, which is stunning to me, on 4 receptions. And, and looking at it here, that's what I'm trying to figure out if this game, let's see here. We're going to look at the official game book here. It's finally now posted. But yeah, Devin Funchess, only 4 receptions. He was targeted 7 times. He did have 4 receptions. He was missed a couple times in that first drive to where he wasn't able to make a clear play. But he hauled in 67 yards, an average of 16.8. He did have his longest of 27. That was on a pass where Cam Newton rolled out to the left and found Funchess wide open. Nobody within, it seemed like 15, 20 yards of him. And Funchess did have a touchdown. And then C.J. Anderson, the former Denver Bronco, added the other one. It's games like this that, again, really make you scratch your head. And, you can't, it's just, this one was a maddening game today. And I know I was, texting Nick all throughout the game, and, he was all fired up about, Andy Dalton sucks and all this. And I'm like, okay, I get the emotional part of it, but you have to kind of take a step back and take a look at everything. Granted, like I said, defensive injuries were going to play a big part, and they truly did today. It's plain and simple. They played a big part to where the Bengals couldn't recover. They couldn't make stops when they needed to. The secondary got torched simply because Cam Newton makes plays enough to where he can get out of the pocket and set himself up for a good spot to make a good throw. Like I said, he was only 15 of 24, so he wasn't very good, passing-wise. And he only had 150 yards, but his 153 yards were in crucial times, and ones that kept the drives going. So it's, situations like that to where the Bengals definitely did a bad job of, trying to get off the field at a certain, uncertain times, and or at least making themselves in a spot to where they can make a play. Carolina was 6 of 13. That's 46% on third downs, to where the Bengals once again struggled to get off the field on third downs. But the Bengals were 4 of 10. And they did hold Carolina to getting off the field on the 1/4 down right towards the end of the, I believe it was the end of the third quarter, I believe is when it was. But, rushing wise, you look at the total first downs, Bengals had 25 first downs compared to Carolina's 23. 6 of those were on the ground, while Carolina had 11 on the ground. Carolina had 230 yards net rushing, which is, I did not see that coming at all. This defense had come in averaging 70 yards. Granted, it was only 2 games, but they had only averaged giving up 70 yards on the ground in the first 2 weeks, and they give up 230. That just shows the miss of Preston Brown and the lack of push that the Bengals front 4 were. They just weren't able to get anything established there. Again, got to give a lot of credit to the Carolina Panthers and the way their offensive line came out and attacked the Cincinnati Bengals and did not let their defense get established and put a lot of pressure on Cam Newton. Again, this is a tough one. This was a tough pill to swallow. Especially, I thought this team was going to go in there and come away with a victory. It's you tend to have some expectations that obviously don't go our way, and that's what happened. The first drive was, again, the 11-play 73-yard drive. There were 2 penalties, you know that that gave us a chance for the touchdown, and that's what happened there. But we get the ball, get the touchdown. It's like, okay, great, and then Carolina comes right back and scores, and then we get the ball back, and that's when Andy threw the interception to Dante Jackson, the rookie, who had a great game. He ended up with two picks today, and then after the interception, the Bengals come right down another 12-play 75-yard drive to where they were able to get a touchdown there. So, at this point it's 14-7. You're thinking, okay, here we go. We've got, we're off to a good start. And then Carolina continues to come right back. We have to punt, and the Bengals just seem to kind of spin their wheels a little bit, and they kind of, to me, they got out of their game plan of, the rushing attack. And it looked like Bill Lazor kind of did bail on it. And granted, and you sign Thomas Rawls to be a running back, and yet he's not even active. So that right there, you can't comprehend what they were doing. Giovanni Bernard is a solid running back. Giovanni Bernard can be a number 1 running back, not for 16 games. Giovanni Bernard can be a number 1 running back for 3 or 4 games and be just fine. And Gio, I thought, he had a solid game today. He had a couple runs that, were stopped kind of short, and he, ran into the back end of, it might have been Cordy Glenn. I could be wrong. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, where he was, knocked back a couple feet. And, when your offensive line and tight ends, blocking tend to struggle, then, things just aren't going to go very well. And that's pretty much what happened today. This was an all-around, not a solid performance. You miss a field goal, after you force Carolina to punt. You go 7 plays, 61 yards, and you end up with a holding penalty. You drop back, you have to kick a 53-yard field goal. You end up missing that. Carolina gets the ball. They go down. We force them to punt. And then it just, then you throw 2 straight interceptions. And, after the Bengals, they had 2 drives in the first quarter, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, and then 4 in the fourth. And you came away with no points in the fourth quarter at all. Your drives ended with a punt, a missed field goal, and 2 interceptions. So that right there is, you only came away with points in 3 quarters. And, you had a touchdown in the first on your first drive, then you threw the interception. A touchdown on the first drive of the second quarter that you had, and then you punted on your next drive. And then you punted again on the first drive of the third quarter, and then an interception, but then you came back with the touchdown. So not having the points that they did, it tends to, it makes it difficult for you. And if you look at Carolina, they end up with points on every single quarter. They had two drives in the first quarter, ended up with 7 points out of that. 14 points, in the second quarter off of 3 drives. Granted, one of those they started off at their own 6-yard, or started off their own 2-yard line after the punt we downed. Carolina was just going to go 3 runs, and that was it, and get off the field and head in the locker room. Then we forced them to punt on their first drive of the third quarter, but they scored a touchdown there. And then, even though we forced them off on downs, in their first drive of the fourth quarter, we forced 2 punts, and then gave up that field goal. So, it was tough. This was a tough game, and like I said, a tough pill to swallow. Granted, this team will have to come back and play, they got to play a tough Atlanta team who can sling it around the field. I'm fully prepared to do this video next week with a loss. That's, I figured at this point in time, I figured they were going to be, they would be 3-1 after the Atlanta game. fortunately, I think, that's best case scenario. Most realistic is going to be 2-2. The Bengals, hopefully they can get some of these guys back after injury, and then we will go from there. But, our team, what do you think your team needs? I think we need to come back from injuries. I've said it a couple times. I thought the Bengals would be 12-4. This team is good enough to be anywhere from 10-6 to 12-4, provided they stay healthy. That's been our Achilles heel right now. AJ Green gets hurt today. Ryan Glasgow gets hurt. A couple guys that we cannot afford to have injured. Ryan Glasgow, he's not a starter, but he's one of those, solid guys that fills in and does an admirable job filling in. Got to stay healthy. Joe Mixon hopefully can be back next week. But we've got to, regardless of what happens, with this team, they have to, they got to come back and play strong. Yeah, you might not beat Atlanta, but if you play a solid game, then, it is what it is when you play, Atlanta. You could put up a ton of points, but you could get outscored simply because Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan. I believe he tossed five touchdowns today. So, Atlanta's a tough. They're a tough one, and that's what the Bengals have to deal with now at 2-1. Hopefully they come back and lick their wounds and get prepared to get prepared to go down to Atlanta on Sunday. But AJ Green did not come back in. That kind of worries me a little bit. He landed awkwardly. I've heard groin. Hopefully that can be that'll be good. Hopefully he'll be good to go. Joe Mixon hopefully can come back. Billy Price is still going to be out. Preston Brown, hopefully he can come back because you can tell this team is not. They're different and they're not as good when they're missing some of their guys. And it's the next man up mantra. But Carolina, they exhibited that perfectly today. That next man up mantra. They did a great job because their offensive line did a really good job of keeping the Bengals, front four at bay. And, this is a tough one today, but, it's, I think the injuries played a lot more. They played a lot bigger factor than what, than what I thought they would. I didn't think it would be, this big of a deal, but it truly was. And you got to give Carolina credit. Carolina's a good team coming into a 1-1. They had knocked off Dallas, and then they had lost to Atlanta the prior week in a tough division game. But Carolina, they got the job done like they needed to, and you got to tip your cap to the Panthers, and Ron Rivera did a great job of getting his team ready and really taking advantage of the Bengals' weaknesses and in a couple spots, and they, like I said, they did a great job. So again, this was a tough one today. It was a really tough one to watch, tough one to stay happy about. But again, that's part of it, and unfortunately, the Bengals came out on the wrong end of it. So just got to come back and get ready for just have to get ready for Atlanta next week. So. As always, make sure you check out feeltheimpactsports.com. I'll have a couple things coming up here hopefully this week. Obviously, the Bengals Falcons preview. I will have this video posted on the site as well. Make sure you check out my podcast. It's on Anchor FM. You can check out the link on my site. Follow me on Twitter at I am Chris Asbrock. Make sure you check me out there. I'd love to hear from you. Let's converse back and forth. Love to chat sports, anything like that. I'm hoping to get some FC Cincinnati stuff up there, at least whether it's on the podcast or another video show like this. So thank you guys as always for your support. Again, check out my podcast. Check me out on Twitter. And other than that, I think that's it. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your night and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care. And as always, even though it's a little tough, Hoo day.